button before I forget. And my partner's going to finish grinding some coffee. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. But thank you all for joining us. If you've just joined, you haven't missed anything yet. Can everyone see the starter page of the presentation and hear me and see me?
Yes.
Give me, awesome. I've given a lot of beginnings of workshops and nobody can hear me, and explaining Python twice is not fun. So I always like to double check. So welcome to the How to Build a Portfolio Website workshop presented by TechTogether and Dice Hacks. So here's kind of like the agenda for today. I'm going to give you an overview of my background, TechTogether and Dice Hacks. So I'm going to give you our little spiel for 1 minute, and then we're just going to dive into it. We're going to cover the basics of, what is a portfolio website? What are the key components of a portfolio website? And then we're going to go through the different phases of building a portfolio website. And we're going to have examples as we go. And then we're also going to do some more in-depth in examples at the end as well. And I love, again, I'm a hands-on learner. So I learn through asking questions and maybe applying it to my own particular situation. So we'll definitely have time for questions at the end. And I have the chat open right now. So if you want to drop a question throughout the presentation, I will pause when appropriate and answer it. All right. So as I said, my name is Fiona. I use the pronoun she, her, hers, and I'm the executive director and co-founder of TechTogether. TechTogether, I'll talk about it in a second, is a national nonprofit organization which seeks to increase the gender diversity of the hackathon community. And the primary way that we do that is we run gender-focused hackathons for people of marginalized genders across the country. We have a community of over 10,000 individuals, and we serve about 3,000 hackers through our annual events each year. We are credited for increasing the gender diversity of the hackathon community by 18% over the course of 1 year. And my background is in marketing and in development and in nonprofit leadership. I have built a lot of websites, both professionally and for fun. It is what I love. I think you can do a ton of things creatively with designing and both building a website. And I just think it's like one of the aspects of coding that I think I love the most, and design as well. So I am super excited to be able to share with you specifically what I've learned about building websites, specifically portfolio websites today. And I also linked my portfolio website that I used this past year if you want to check it out. I also linked the GitHub template if you are a coder and want to just use it for your own portfolio website. So I already talked a little bit about TechTogether, so I'm not going to say it again, but again, our mission is redefining the hacker stereotype. And we have chapters all over the country: Boston, New York, Atlanta, Seattle, Chicago, and Miami. And we serve people of all age groups. You just have to be above 14 years old. So if you are changing your career, you're not in college anymore, but you still want to get involved in the tech community or want to acquire a technical skill set, you can be a part of our hacker family. Here are some of the things that you can get access to at our gender-focused hackathons. But again, if you're about to turn 14, you can maybe qualify for some of our other programs. Here are some of the benefits of attending our gender-focused hackathons. I know that's not why you're here today, so I'm just going to skip over this, but if you're interested, feel free to screenshot this slide. We also partnered with Dice Hacks to bring you this workshop. It's actually, the topic was their idea. DiceX is really cool because it's not a typical hackathon. They pair hackers with local nonprofits to build real world solutions. So if you are very mission driven, you love helping your local community, and you want to get involved with the tech community in an easy and maybe less technical way, Dice Hacks is a really awesome and intimate event. It's application based, so they really curate the people who go. So definitely check that out after this if that's something that interests you. So let's get into it. I always like to start with the fundamentals. I think it's good to set a foundation before we go into the weeds. So let's answer the most basic question here. What is a portfolio website? So in its most basic form, a portfolio website provides professional information about an individual or company and presents a showcase of their work. A portfolio website can take many different forms depending on what your goals are. So for example, an entrepreneur, a designer, a developer, maybe a marketer is going to have different goals of what they want to achieve through their portfolio website. But in general, there is this common consensus that in the end, we're all just trying to showcase our work by achieving a certain goal. And so no matter what your goal is, each portfolio website is going to have the same key components. And I really want to emphasize this slide. It's going to seem really basic, but again, it's really important that when you are building your portfolio website to literally go through and have this as a checklist. Like, I don't want you to publish your portfolio website without having each and every one of these options done. And you might think, oh, Fiona, of course, like I'm going to have this, but you would be surprised. I see a lot of portfolio websites that lack some of these really key elements. The first is you need your name clear on the website. It should be the first and biggest thing, right? If I visited a company website, right, I need to know the company name. It needs to be super clear. Usually it's on the top left corner. Portfolio websites are exactly the same. You need to have your name. Your name is basically like the name of your company, very clear on the page. It should potentially be in the navigation where a logo might be. It needs to be on there. I see so many portfolio websites that don't have this. Really important. You need at least 2 to 3 sentences about your career and experience. It can be in third person or it can be in first person. Depends on what you want stylistically. But you should have a short bio, not a long bio unless it's an about page. You need a short bio somewhere on your portfolio website that's going to give whoever's landing on your website a very quick understanding of, okay, this is Fiona, this is what she's about, and this is the type of work that she focuses on. And then 2 to 3 of the best examples of your work with descriptions for context. Again, I see this mistake a lot with portfolio websites, which is I need to put all of my work on my website. I personally think it's better to choose a couple really good examples of your work with more explanation of that gives context around why you did that work, who you did that work for, what did that work achieve, than you just throwing in everything you've ever designed or developed on a page and expecting everyone to look through it. So again, make sure that you are filtering and highlighting yourself in the best way that you can for the audience that you think is going to be viewing the content. I'm not a good example of this. I ended up throwing like almost all of the content on my website. I wish I had it. I wish I had just chosen a few key projects and highlighted those. I would have been way better off and honestly save myself a ton of time. The next one, again, is when I don't see people have a clear call to action. A portfolio website is no different than a regular website. You need to have a clear call to action. If people are viewing your work, what do you want them to do? What step do you want them to take after viewing your work? Do you want them to schedule a time on your calendar? Do you want to set up a consultation? Do you want them to view your resume? Do you want them to fill out a lead form? Figure out what your goals are, and create a pathway for them, for the audience to fulfill that goal, and highlight it on the above the fold on your portfolio website. And when I say above the fold, it means I land on the website and it's what you see immediately before you scroll down. So a lot of times on a landing page, you will see one main CTA or maybe one CTA and a sub CTA that take the form of buttons, like, for example, register for my event. That is your CTA. That's the clear call to action. It's highlighted, it's easy to find. Sometimes people also put it highlighted in the right-hand corner of their website. And then the last is like any relevant contact information. If you want to put your email, if you want to put your LinkedIn, any other social media handles that you want people to see, make sure that you have that accessible. You can add a footer to your website very easily. But again, if your call to action is having them contact you, you're going to want to think about how you can make that as easy as possible for the people who are landing on your portfolio website. So I'm just going to go ahead. I think someone is unmuted by accident. So I'm just going to mute you. No biggie. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, back to it. Okay, so I'm going to be really boring and I'm going to talk prep real quick because, again, I've helped a lot of people build portfolio websites, especially during COVID when people were struggling to find jobs. And the biggest mistake, again, I keep saying this, so I apologize if I sound repetitive, but a big mistake that I see people make, and a mistake I've made myself, is not preparing in advance and just going straight to building something. That you are just going to be less successful if you go straight into the build phase and don't think about your building it or why you're building it beforehand. You're going to be much better off. You're going to save time. You're going to save yourself money. You're going to save yourself sanity. And a lot of adjustment work later on if you go through the 4 steps that I'm about to go through. So the first thing and the most important thing, and I say this for small businesses that I help as well, is define your goals and your audience. Why am I building this website? What is the first thing I want them to do on my website? Who is going to be visiting my website? Who do I want to be visiting my website? You need to answer these questions before you start building your portfolio website, because they're going to help you make better design and content decisions when you're in the process of building the website out. So let me give you an example. This is just like an example I made up just to help you all. I am building this website to get more freelancing projects, right? That is my measurement of success. If my portfolio website is successful, then I will have more leads into my freelancing business, right? I'm going to get more clients. I want people to fill out my lead form, right? So my goal of the website is to get inbound leads to my freelancing business so that you can turn them into customers. And who is going to be visiting my website? Let's say my sweet spot is nonprofit. So I'm looking for nonprofits. I want nonprofits who are looking for someone to build them a website to land on my website. And that is going to be the audience that I cater my content, my projects to, right? Just as if you create a resume specific to different types of jobs, right? You want to make sure that you're doing the same with your portfolio website. And it can also be broad. It can be, doesn't have to be specifically nonprofits. It could be, if you're just creating a portfolio website for job hunting, it could say, I'm looking for employers who are going to be evaluating my experience with copywriting or development. You, again, go ask yourself these questions, force yourself to answer them, force yourself to make the decisions, because the more specific you are in answering these questions, the better website that you're going to output. And the second one is create a personal branding guideline. Again, treat yourself like a business. If you have a really sloppy and ugly website, Even if you have the most amazing work and results, it's going to make you look bad. So decide in advance, what colors am I going to be using? What typography am I going to use? And what style do I want on my website? And what do I want that style to convey? I put a resource here above. It's called a color hunt. You can just Google it real quick, but it basically gives you hand-picked color palettes by expert designers. You don't have to be a design expert to have a personal brand. You can just say, I'm going to use this set of blues. I'm going to use Arial font, and I want it to be trustworthy. So I'm going to create a clean website because I want my clients to see that I'm professional. And it can be as simple as that. So here's an example. I just picked this palette off Color Hunt. I thought it was very clean, professional. Blue is usually conveys trustworthiness. I like red because it can help me highlight things. So again, this was a color palette. I would use these colors when developing and designing the website. You can apply it to templates to customize it and personalize it. Thanks. Yeah, it's Color Hunt. And I use Arial because why complicate things, overcomplicate things, right? If you're a typography head, go ahead, have fun with it. But if Arial is going to convey what I need it to and it's easy for me to use, then I just need to make sure that I stick to using that font. And again, don't skip this step because design can be what elevates your website content that you're going to invest time into developing to the next level and making sure that you're showcasing things in the best way. And yeah, Canva also has some great color palettes. I mean, there are a ton of free color palette resources online. So you just have to Google it and pick one and stick with it. The third one is preparing content. So I think I said this before, but a lot of times we get too busy with, oh, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to build my website. And then you realize, well, shit, now I need to backtrack. I don't have the content that I need to develop certain sections. So you do it ad hoc. It is better to prepare the content in advance because what you want to do is you want to showcase the content in the best way possible, right? You want to get the content together first and then figure out layout and design second. You don't want to do it the other way around because it's going to be harder and you're going to end up not highlighting the content in the best way that it probably could have been. So when you are in this preparation phase, start collecting assets, graphics, text. Ask yourself, what content do I want to showcase? If I built the Dice Hacks website, which I did, again, what do I want to showcase? Am I going to need a screenshot of the entire website? Do I want to showcase the copy that I wrote for them? What about the stuff that I illustrated? Those are the things that you need to think about in advance. And then also, do I need to write any copy or text for my website? Again, you don't just want to throw assets up on the website. If I am evaluating myself and I'm like, oh, cool, Fiona clearly did work for Dice Hacks, but I don't really understand what she did or how she did it and what that achieved for the company. So it's probably not going to be as persuasive as me as a client to hire her. Whereas if I were to write copy in advance, and copy, I mean text, I might say, my name is Fiona, and what am I saying? Sorry. I might say like, hi, like, why am I saying hi? I wrote, or you might say like, okay, I designed this website for Dice Hacks, which is run by Brandeis University. I built it using HTML, CSS, Bootstrap. The goal of the website was to showcase the Dice Hacks event and execute a rebrand so that they could get more registrations. Through this redesign, we were able to increase registrations by X% over X amount of years, right? You want to, if I give you that context, you're probably going to be way more likely to be impressed with the work that I've done. And you want to make it short, right? Because if I'm a client, I don't have a lot of time unless, you want to do an optional in-depth overview if they want to learn more. And then again, this is like an example of things that you can collect. You make a to-do list for yourself. So images of past projects, if you are allowed to, you need to make sure with the client that it's okay. Testimonials from former and current clients can go a long way. A blurb about, maybe you need to write a blurb about your freelance business. Maybe you need a professional headshot. There's a lot of people that will do that pro bono, or get someone to, you know, take a really good iPhone photo of you. But again, make sure that you have that list, because I promise you it's going to be longer than you think, and you don't want to end up halfway through building your website and then realize that, shit, I don't have everything that I need to put on it. That's not going to be fun. And lastly, setting a timeline. How long do I want to spend on this project? Where do I want to spend most of my time? How important is it that this website needs to be exceptional? Specifically with portfolio websites, and I definitely fall victim to this. I'm a perfectionist, and I also love building things and designing things. But that doesn't mean that I should be spending all of my time on this project. I think it's important to set a timeline for yourself, especially if you're doing it outside of work hours. Sometimes it's hard to stay motivated. It's really easy to get into that adjustment mindset, which is, I jumped into this project and I'm just adjusting it to no end until I'm happy. Whereas you're going to be much better off if you are set a rigid timeline and come into it more prepared, so that you're not in that like never ending adjustment period where you're like, oh yeah, I've been working on my portfolio website for a couple months, you know, I'm still working on it. Like, that is just a waste of your time. It's a waste of your energy. So put a time box around it. And if you don't end up getting to it, then clearly it's not a priority for you. So just drop it. I'm just going to get to some of the questions. Oh, here's an example of a timeline. So just going to quickly go and visit some of the questions real quick. Oh man, my headphones are going to die. So I'm just going to unplug them real quick. Okay. Can you all hear me? Just give me a yes in chat. Okay, awesome. Are writing skills needed for web developers? I mean, yes, good writing skills are needed for every single job. It's the most important skill that you can have as a candidate. Is the writing content the role of the UX or the web developer? Really depends on the project. Okay, cool. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat, but otherwise I'm gonna go into the build phase. So as I said, I'm not covering coding today. This is how to build your website without writing one line of code. But if you wanted to, you could definitely build a portfolio website from scratch. I did that. I don't particularly recommend it. If you like building websites, it might be a fun activity. But you definitely can take advantage of all of the awesome website builders that are out there. So what is a website builder? A website builder is basically a platform that allows you to drag and drop features onto a website and easily host it online. So you basically skip all the coding, and it's kind of like almost like Photoshop or Canva for building websites. There are some really popular ones out there, Wix and Squarespace being the main ones, but there are hundreds of platforms out there that you can use. I know there are some specific to portfolio websites, but honestly, you're not gonna, I would stick to the main ones, which is Wix or Squarespace, unless you find one that you really like. But here's, the four main ones. I'm gonna talk about like payment in a little bit, and like the fees associated with these platforms and what you can do to avoid them.
But I just wanted to say that I think I would recommend Squarespace the most for specifically for a portfolio website if you are a non-coder. I think that Squarespace is a little bit more rigid than Wix, which actually makes it easier for you to build faster because Wix is more flexible, which means that it has a little bit more complexity added to the building process. Which can be great if you want to do something more unique. But I think that Squarespace is a little bit more rigid and a little bit more clear cut, where you're really, really just dragging and dropping and you don't really have a lot of options, which can be really great if you want to do something fast and quick and make it look good. And what are my thoughts on WordPress? I don't like it. I don't think it's a good option for a lot of things. It wouldn't be my choice for any project. When should you choose a template and when would it be better to code your own? I think depends on your goals, your time, the money that you want to spend. If you're willing to put in a ton of time, you want to learn how to code your own website, you're willing to make it maybe look a little bit more shittier just to say that you coded it, then go for it. That's what I did. But if you're looking to do something quick that looks great, that's easy, use a template. And also when you're designing a website, most people use stuff as inspiration. The website that I built and designed is basically like a ton of templates repurposed into a design that I crafted for myself. Adobe Portfolio is an option if you use the Creative Cloud. I haven't heard of that, but I guess you could use that as well. Don't recommend. Again, there's a ton of platforms out there, as I said, but I would recommend sticking with Wix or Squarespace. They're just the easiest to use, the most accessible, the most documented. When you go into other platforms, you're just increasing the risk. And again, that's just a personal decision. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. So don't these platforms cost me money? I am in the personal camp of, I don't think you should spend money on your portfolio website unless you're a freelancer and it's bringing in money for you. So that means when you use a website builder, they have a ton of, they'll make it really easy for you to spend money on features that they'll make you think that you need, or when you look at other websites, you'll think that you need them. But again, you don't need to remove the Wix logo to have a great portfolio website. So I recommend not paying to remove the branded logos, and don't pay for a special domain and hosting. These platforms are super expensive, and odds are you're not making like money through your portfolio website at this stage. So why invest in it? Again, unless you are, right, then you're going to make different decisions. But again, I just don't recommend investing in these areas. It's not worth it. It may annoy the shit out of you to look at your portfolio website and see the Wix logo every time. Trust me, people don't care. Get over it. It's fine. Save yourself the $300. Go buy yourself something else. And then lastly, a creative solution is use a bit.ly to set up a redirect to avoid domain and hosting fees. So when you set up a Wix website, you will get a domain. So it'll be like www.wix.com/fwhittington/123. That's like kind of not a great domain that you want to give people, maybe put on your resume. So instead, what you can do is you can set up a bit.ly link for free, and it might be bit.ly, and you can set it up so it's bit.ly/Fiona Whittington _portfolio, or just /Fiona Whittington, whatever you want to do. That way I can add that link to my resume, use that link to direct people, and nobody's going to notice that it redirects to that really weird domain. People are not detailed. Maybe they do, but they're not going to care. And you can easily create a bit.ly on the bit.ly website. Super free, super easy. All you have to do is copy and paste the domain, have really clear instructions. Yeah. And it will also show you how many people click on that link, so you can know, have a little bit more information about traffic being driven to your portfolio website. Building websites from these platforms are dependent and can't be on their own. You need these companies to update your website. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Feel free to clarify in the chat. And the redirect is free. You can just use a bit.ly. As I said, it's completely free to set up. It does the redirect for you. So for instance, TechTogether might use bit.ly/tt prehacks to launch, and it takes us to, the user to www.techtogether.io/prehacks. Okay, here's an example of templates, template that I found on Wix. I thought that this is just an example of a really great template where you can plug and play, change the image to your face, change this to specific to your business, or maybe make this into 2-3 sentences about your business, change this to who you are, change it to your name, change the colors based off of whatever colors you chose, and boom, you have a really nice looking portfolio website with very minimal effort. So let's talk about something that nobody talks about, which is maintenance. So you need to think about, before you make a website, who is going to maintain it, and do I want to maintain it? Your career and your work is constantly evolving, and you should prepare to update your portfolio website on a cadence that makes most sense to you. I just gave an example down below. For example, if I made my portfolio website during COVID to help me land jobs, and I don't have it linked on any other platform, so traffic to the page is minimal, then maybe I'm not going to update it on a frequent basis, and I'll only just update it when I'm job searching again. Again, just keep in mind that this is public information, so you're going to want to make sure that if this is publicly available, that you have accurate information, because you never know who's going to be looking at it, how they found it, and if you're being considered for a job 2 years from now, and someone finds your old work, could affect your ability to get that job. So again, just be cognizant. Once it's public, you can always make it private again, but just keep in mind that it will need to be maintained at some point. That takes work, that takes time. So when you're making the decision of whether or not you want to build a portfolio website, factor this into your timeline. And then lastly, as I said, your career is constantly evolving, constantly progressing. Your freelance work, your portfolio is constantly building. So keep track of your content and achievements. As I said before, in that content collection phase, it is a bitch to go out and retroactively, get all the assets together again. So as you go through your career, if you just finished a project, just add it to a folder that says like portfolio assets, to make sure that you're keeping track of everything that you may one day want to reuse for your portfolio website or even your resume. I worked at a startup, and when I left, I went to go build my portfolio website, and I realized that I hadn't saved or remembered, because I have a terrible memory, any of the specific the specific data points of achievements that I made for the company. So when I was crafting all the materials for looking for a job, it was really difficult. I kind of had to estimate, or I had to go back to my team. So just make sure that you have somewhere saved. Obviously, make sure that you're allowed to have access to that information. But again, you don't want to have to go back. And you want to make sure that you don't lose any information. Okay, I'm going to give you some examples from the TechTogether community real quick. Let's talk about what they did good, what they did bad. So this is Chloe's website. She was a designer for TechTogether Boston. This is her portfolio website that I believe she just redid. So you see right here, you know exactly who she is and what she's about within 2 seconds of landing on the page. It's in the top left. She's Chloe and she's a designer and she's from Vietnam. That tells me everything that I need to know in 2 seconds. She clearly used branding guidelines for her website. So the color and typography, even if she wasn't a designer, is going to impress me. It's consistent. It looks extremely professional. I already trust her. I already want to learn more. You can quickly find information about her easily and quickly on the page. The navigation isn't overly complicated. She doesn't have a ton of pages that are super unnecessary. It's just information, right? And that's what I want as a potential client, is more information about her and how I may be able to potentially hire her. She has one of her projects front and center to showcase her capabilities, to make you wonder, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. I want to see more. She has a description of the project, so I have more context about it. And she has that view more. But she doesn't have all the content, right, laid out in my face to make it overwhelming. Just a little tidbit and the option to learn more if I want, which is great. If I were to improve this page, I wouldn't do much. I would just maybe add a more clear call to action. Instead of, in addition to this info button, I might have a more highlighted button that says contact me or schedule a consultation. Because otherwise, I think this page is awesome, but just because I think it's awesome, now I need to know how I can get in contact with her, and that's not really clear. And as a client, again, I have very limited time, so I need to be able to know how I can reach her, you know, within 5 minutes. Otherwise, I'll lose interest. Yeah. And do the website builders you just shared now allow password protection? Yes, they do. This is my portfolio website. Let's talk about, again, same things. I didn't want to reiterate what I said before, which is I think I have the same, you know, components that Chloe had that were good. You clearly, you know, my name is up front. What I do is clear. You get a sense of who I am very quickly. But one thing that I think I could also do better is a clear call to action, maybe having a project up front instead of more information about myself. Again, depends on what your goals are, but what's really lacking here is a clear call to action that would help whoever landed on my portfolio page get in touch with me or look at more of my work if that's what I wanted. I didn't really have a specific goal in creating my portfolio website, which is why it could be stronger. If I had laid it out beforehand, I would have probably made a better portfolio site with a clear call to action and probably got better results. So that's how I would go ahead and improve this portfolio website. And that's the end of this workshop. We have, again, 15 to 20 minutes for questions. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and